So we're going to try to kind of try to finish up. Let's look back over some of the main points from last time. Authentication is the act of proving your identity to some remote service. It's proving that you are who you say you are. Now, with your friends, it's easy. They look at your face and they instantly know who you are. But with you know, for a computer, you need other ways of proving your identity. Ania once got an email. Ania's my wife. She's the English teacher. She once got an email from a mutual friend of ours who claimed this email said, "Hey, Ania, I need your help. I'm stuck in England and I lost my passport. I got mugged and I lost all my passport, my money. Can you like send me some cash or something?" And she said, "Oh, yeah, sure." So she's typing an email. She's like, "Yeah, sure, absolutely. I'll totally help you out. But first, can you tell me where we first met?" You know, authentication. Just and of course the person on the other end is like, "You're wasting time. I need help. Blah blah blah." Just like, so it's obviously a scam, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, but it kind of serves. I forgot to bring my mic down here. All right, so it kind of serves the uh, serves the same purpose. You're trying to authenticate. You're trying to get this person to verify their identity in a distinctly human way. Computers need much simpler ways. So we have our 3 authentication factors. And so in that case, she was trying to leverage the, let me change my display sentence settings here. She was using the old something some shared knowledge with this friend to verify their identity. And then of course they like looked in on them on Facebook and was like, "Hey, what's the deal? I got this email." Like, "Oh my gosh, no, I'm in Wisconsin," or something like that. I can't remember. It's kind of a fun story though, because it seemed legit even though it wasn't. So we talked about passwords and the fact that the most important factor in determining a password's strength is the amount of entropy that it's calculated. And if you do this calculation here on any given password with a particular character set, as it turns out, the number that actually counts is how long your password is. This number doesn't go up very fast. The logarithm as a function kind of goes like this, very slowly like this. But when you multiply it by many characters, that increases the security by a significant margin. So 10, 20, 30 characters. You can, with LastPass, I can do 30 character passwords and I don't have to ever type them. It's awesome. So yeah, use strong passwords, and strong passwords equals long passwords. The beautiful thing about long passwords is you can make ones that are easy to remember by using things like passphrases. Think of like a nonsense sentence, a silly poem, something that you can really easily remember, but doesn't need a whole lot of like character complexity. Doesn't need all these special characters over here. I wonder if there's an actual screenshot from the Simpsons episode. I'm not sure. All right. Yeah, so the right thing to do, like you were saying, is to use a different password for every service, but that is not possible without using a password vault. It's just not possible. So like I said, I use a couple of passwords for low stakes services like my school email, my school account, my and things that I have to log into manually on a regular basis that aren't attached to, say, my bank account. Those things, those low stakes things that are not a particularly huge security risk, I just use a really straightforward, I think it's like a 16 character password, but it's not super secure and I repeat them all the time. If it's just like a news website, what do I care if somebody hacks my account on Bemidji Pioneer? I don't, that doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. So no one's even going to be trying to hack that account. So I don't worry about it and just use an insecure password. So you can also use that method, the whole like, just how secure does this service really need to be? maybe it doesn't need to be all that secure. So next slide. Yep. Using a password vault, I think, is my personal recommendation. Use multi-factor authentication whenever possible. Most services have it, and I think they make it really easy to set up. So it'll send you like a text message or something like that to verify that you have a device that is proven to be something that you possess. Biometrics we talked about. Okay, malware. There are 3 different kinds of malware, or 3 different ways to deal with malware. You can use antivirus software, and I put virus in quoting marks because the word virus is a bit of a misnomer. Viruses aren't really very common anymore. Malware is a much broader, more general term, but a computer virus, which is specifically a piece of nefarious software that infects your system, and its job is to replicate itself. That's not a thing people do anymore because it's pointless. It doesn't hurt anybody. It brings down systems and things like that, but it doesn't actually like it doesn't make anybody any money, so nobody does it. It's kind of pointless. It was just a fun game that people played in the 70s, 80s, and 90s to mess with people. It was never meant to, it's nowadays the only thing people want is money. So scams and other kinds of ransomware is a big one, where they encrypt your hard drive. You download some bad software, it encrypts your hard drive and displays a message saying, hey, listen, if you want your data back, you need to send us $500 in Bitcoin. And does anybody remember when that happened to the LLBO?
Yeah, I worked at the gaming front desk, and it was like chaos because we were like doing all of their payroll for a while.
Yeah, you had to do the whole band's payroll for a while. They never actually paid the ransom that do you?
Not that I was aware of,
Yeah,
no.
which means they probably never recovered that data.
Yeah, I think it was just like chalked it up to a loss and started over.
Multi-million-dollar loss. Not to mention the equipment, because you can't trust any of that equipment anymore. LLTC was like, we took measures to lock down our systems. We shut down all the USB drives on all of our computers on campus, so nobody from the band could bring thumb drives. This has files I need on it. And they're like, it also could have this horrible piece of malware on it too. So no, you can't. It really caused a problem because a lot of our students use thumb drives to store their files. So it was a big old mess, and yeah, good times. We were unaffected, except in that regard, and that we had to implement some new practices to make sure that we didn't get infected too. Pretty horrible stuff. And it was like a crazy bounty that they wanted. They wanted like $500 in Bitcoin, and it would go up like $500 a day for every day that they didn't pay it. There was a tribe in North Dakota that paid that bounty, and they did get the password, and they did get their data back. So there may be.
Well, that's like the thing, is you never know. Like, you could pay that and then be like, yeah, we're still gonna keep your information.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about it is they don't necessarily have any particular incentive not to just give you the password. They don't have the data. They didn't steal the data. All they did was encrypt your hard drive. That's all they did. So no one stole that data. It's not compromised in that sense. It's just no longer. It's just been scrambled, and it's gibberish. And they have a key that can unscramble it. But yeah, I don't know. They don't have any particular reason not to. And in the fact, the more that they don't come through with on their end of the bargain, the less people are going to be likely to pay the bounty. So there is that, and I think that there's something to be said about that. But yeah, it's a pretty complex thing, and you got to weigh the options. And I'm definitely not saying that the band did the wrong thing, or that anybody did the wrong thing. They did what they had to do, basically. What is that, Jaden? Just like wondering what that was. Anyway, there's 3 things that you can do to protect yourself from malware. One of them is to use antiviral software. Usually it'll be labeled antivirus software, even though it's a bit of a misnomer. Implement a certain number of best practices, like knowing what you should click on and what you shouldn't, and what in an email is like, like what emails are safe to look at. And a lot of these best practices are kind of automatic, because if you use any kind of modern email service, there's a spam filter that is going to be highly aggressive, and it's very unlikely that you get an email that has some malware. But occasionally you'll get an email from Dave Anderson on campus, talking about like some scam that's going around, and you should, like, pay attention to those. But it's one of the reasons why I think we should update to a more enterprise solution, like use Gmail or Outlook to do our email, because this old Outlook server that we have to install our own security updates on is just it's got to be a huge pain in the butt for Dave and Bob. I don't know. Anyway, so there's a certain number of best practices that we can look at, and then just constant vigilance, like making sure that you run your antivirus software, making sure that you making sure that you update all of your software, making sure that you install patches. Like my wife, I told her, like, she had this old laptop and she had to install that is a baby. She hadn't run updates in over a year, and I was like, first of all, now we have to run these updates, and second of all, it's going to take forever because you didn't install them in the first place. Don't keep ignoring the updates. It's one of the reasons why I think Windows 10, they just said, sorry, we're just going to automatically install these because y'all can't be trusted to install security updates, so we're going to do it for you. And so you just kind of don't have a choice in the matter. Occasionally when you restart your computer, it's going to run those updates. So maintaining vigilance, making sure that, like, especially if you're going to dodgy websites like Pirate Bay, that you don't click on anything that you don't know what it is. Especially not ads. Use an ad blocker. Ad blockers, like you can't even trust advertisements in on reputable websites. Like, I try to go to Forbes.com. I use an ad blocker, and they're like, sorry, we will not let you see any content unless you turn off your ad blocker. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not turning it off because you guys are the ones that were allowing ads with cross-site scripting attacks on your website. You were literally exposing all of your readers to malware attacks, and you think I'm going to trust you to do the right thing now? No way. So, like, if I can't go on your website with an ad blocker, I don't go on your website. So I highly advise everybody to use an ad blocker. I'll kind of demo that here in a little bit. Next slide. Boom. So malware scanners. My disclaimer here is that these are opinions, my opinions, after doing this for a while and kind of doing some research and thinking about talking to experts and people that I know in the industry. The big three that I would recommend are these. So again, this is slightly Windows specific, but these two at least are cross-platform. There's Malwarebytes for Android and Apple as well. But if you're on Windows, make sure you use Windows Defender. It's free, and it actually does a pretty dang good job. Like, I don't know, 8 years ago, Microsoft decided to take security seriously, and they started pumping some money and resources into Windows Defender. Built into Windows, turn it on. It's a great firewall. It locks your system down. It actively scans for malware, and it works pretty dang good. So I highly recommend, if you have a Windows computer, to use Windows Defender. Malwarebytes is a fantastic piece of software. I have it installed on here, but I think I have an old version of it. So do I have it on open? I don't have it active at the moment because the last time I used it, you're going to think this is funny. The last time I used it, it crashed my computer, which is not what it's supposed to do and not what it usually does. But I think I have a really old version, or I was running something that was incompatible with it. And um, I still highly recommend it as software, but I'm going to reinstall it on here, so I can't really demo it at the moment. Show you their website. Malwarebytes. It's a pun. Get it? Malwarebytes. BYTES. It's clever. They're funny. Now, they do have a premium plan, which is $40 a year, which is honestly not that bad. It's cheaper than like McAfee. But their free version is a very, very capable scanner and remover. It doesn't have real-time protection, so you got to run it like once a month or once a week or something like that. You should run it regularly. But you can't schedule them if you're using the free version. I just use the free version, and it works pretty good. Usually doesn't find anything because I don't really do dodgy things on my computer anymore. And then Super Anti-Spyware, which targets a different kind of malware, which is malware that doesn't really do anything except spy on you. And lots of companies do this just as a matter of course. They'll install cookies and things on your computer that track your browsing, and these don't hurt you, but they do expose your personal information. So running Super Anti-Spyware to periodically clean all that stuff out so that nobody's tracking you anymore isn't a bad idea. Let's see here. The other ones we've got are, all of these are theoretically good to go. I used Avast for many years, but it irritated me because it eventually kept trying to upsell me like constantly. So I deleted them. I don't know if they've changed their ways yet. AVG's fine. Avira is good. Bitdefender's kind of like at the cream of the crop these days for other. Most of these cost money, but most of them are cheaper than Norton or McAfee. So. Kaspersky is specific to Macintoshes, and contrary to popular belief, there is malware that affects Apple computers. It does exist. One thing I will say, just as a matter of course, and again, this is just my opinion, I'm just giving you guys my personal take on this, is never use either Norton or McAfee. If you have them and you've paid for them, that's fine. Don't re-up your subscription when it ends, because it's good software, but it's kind of a system hog. It uses a lot of resources, and if you don't use their premium version, it basically is malware itself. It will constantly try to harass you into paying them money. It'll use fear tactics to make you think that you are not being protected, and so I highly recommend not using them, because also John McAfee, the guy who founded McAfee, is just a giant terrible person, the worst example of a billionaire that you can ever imagine. Just a horrible person, like, you know, the kind of guy who like goes and hunts endangered animals, that kind of horrible, and more salacious stuff as well. He's just a pretty terrible all around bad dude. So these are the two that will come pre-installed on every laptop that you ever buy, and I just say uninstall them immediately. Get rid of them, because they try to con you into spending money. If you get like a free year of it, sure, use it, but then uninstall it after that year is up and get something else. So what are some of these best practices we're talking about? Watch what you click. I assume that Facebook, vets their advertisements, but don't click them. We've had very bad experiences buying things that came from Facebook ads. I guess I've had some. I mean, the fact that I've actually bought things from Facebook ads means that they actually work. But yeah, and like I was saying, reputable sites Oh yeah, and the watch what you click thing is particularly pernicious on websites that have fake download buttons. Let me see if I can find an example. You'll see websites that look like this. That's not the right button. That's not the right button. That's not the right button. That's not the button. There it is. That's the button. You know, you'll see a whole bunch of buttons that say download, 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 and all of them are fake. Um, there's one that's right. So make sure you're looking carefully at them. See, like this download button is on a bar that says advertisement. This one says advertisement. These are all ads. So you really do not want to click on any of those because they are fake, and they will probably take you somewhere where you don't want to go. So fake download buttons. Watch where you click, man. Beware of advertisements, even on reputable websites like on Facebook or Forbes had like advertisements that were doing cross-site scripting attacks on users, which is just absolutely terrible. And then of course they didn't even like really apologize for it. Use an ad blocker, man. Don't give it. You know, don't even care. Don't even worry about it. Block them ads. You don't want them, and they're not good for you. So get rid of them. Ad blockers work. Some websites have it built in, like the Brave browser and the other ones like Chrome or Firefox. You can just install AdBlock Plus, and it's free and cheap. You know, it's easy to use. And you can whitelist if there's some website that's like, oh come on, we're good guys, just you know whitelist us. You can do that too. Uh, let the ads go through, but for the most part, I use an ad blocker for everything, and I don't even feel bad about it. Oh yeah, there's only one place you should ever type your password, and where is that place? It's on the login screen, guys. It's a box that says, it's beneath a box that says username, and it usually says password. And then that is the only place you should ever type it. On like Steam, using Steam as an example, Steam is a video game service. If you ever open up a chat window, every single time you open a chat window, it says Steam will never ask you for your password. And this is to remind you that sometimes people will try to ask you for your password and you should not give it to them. A really common attack is called spear phishing, phishing spelled with a PH, PHISH, where they attack your company by um, like calling up some low level employees or some middle level employee, and then do this kind of song and dance where they say, oh yeah, hey, this is Dave from IT, and I'm running a security audit, and I need your login, and I need your username and password so that I can verify that it's strong enough, or some kind of social engineering attack like that, where they'll try to manipulate you into thinking that they're the good guys and that you should give them your password. Never do this. Even if you know that it is in fact someone that works for your company, if the company has a practice of doing this, it's really bad. They shouldn't do that. It's a terrible practice, and you should probably quit your job. I know that's not always an option, but if there's a company that I've heard of companies that store all their employees' passwords in plain text on a piece of paper, and I think that's a terrible idea. And their IT people should be fired if they do that. LLTC's got pretty good security practices. We've got a good crew of people that actually kind of know what they're talking about, you know? Go figure, huh? And then, of course, always keep your software updated. That's what happened with Equifax when they got hacked. Someone found one of their servers in South America had unpatched server software, an unpatched version of Apache, which is the server software that they use. And someone hacked them because oh, this should have been patched like 5 years ago. I'm going to attack them, steal their database, and then sell it to somebody. So yeah, always update your software. And I know that's a kind of a tall order sometimes, but it is necessary. Okay, so scams. We've got a couple of different ones now. Email scams. are big ones. You'll get most of them get filtered out because of good malware or good spam filters. It's usually called spam, and some spam is good spam, some is bad spam. Um, some of it you even asked for, like, yeah, I want updates on your product, whatever. But a lot of the times it's like somebody from wherever, like some prince from South America or Nigeria or something. Nigerian prince. That's what the stereotype is. Who's going to give you a bunch of gold? I have a video that I'll share with you guys later on about this very thing and how this guy messed with email scammers. It's pretty funny stuff. It's on YouTube. Phone scams are those ones that you guys get these? You guys get the phone call where they're like, I'm from account services and we want to get you a 0% interest rate.
Yeah.
Which one do you get, Evan?
Recently I got one that was it was like a local number too, so I thought it was somebody I knew, but they're just trying to call and saying that I needed some kind of information or something that I like won, or I needed they needed my information because they needed to update something on whatever my other things were or stuff like that.
Oh, yeah,
I've gotten a call saying that they're from the Social Security office.
yeah, that's a bad one. That's a nasty one.
And it's like, it's kind of scary, but at the same time, I just like hung up. I was like, I feel like they would not call and be that unprofessional because they never once said my name or anything.
Social Security office does not use phone as its first point of contact. They will always mail you something. It'll always come in snail mail. Because if the Social Security, if you have a Social Security problem, they take a long time to resolve for good reason. You know, you never really have to panic. You're always going to have months to act on anything, months, if not years, to act on any issue that comes up. So the phones, that is a scare tactic, and it's terrible because some people don't realize, you know. Phone scams are a big one right now. Yeah?
I got one about a car, and I'm like, I don't have a car.
Your car's warranty?
Yeah, your extended warranty.
That's the one. Those are good ones. You can kind of mess with them a little bit sometimes. I told them I had back when. I told them I had a Model T. I was like, what's the make and model of your car? I was like, yeah, it's a Ford Model T. And then they just hung up on me. Oh, one other thing I like doing is clicking through to the operator and then just not saying anything. And then they'll like swear at me or something. Because that wastes more of their time, because usually they figure it out. If I say anything, they usually figure out that I'm just messing with them. Let's see, social media scams. The big way that these things happen is somebody creates a fake account that's got your friend's name on it. It's like, oh, I thought I was already friend. You get a friend request from someone that you know, and you're like, I'm already friends with this person. And then most people will just click it as a matter of course, like, oh, I must have, something must have happened, or they lost their account, or blah, blah, blah. I always click and look at that profile and try to verify that it is in fact the person. And so I don't defriend. Man, Facebook, social media scams are weird because they try to do all sorts of stuff. Are you building IKEA furniture, Jaden? Yeah. It's one of my favorite activities, actually. I actually get a kick out of assembling furniture from the bottom.
When I first saw his picture, I kind of thought he was sitting in a bathroom.
Yeah, I noticed it was a mattress and a bed, so I'm like, you're in a bedroom, and then you have these big pieces of something. I'm like, what is that? Like, okay, so some put together furniture. I don't know. I kind of like it. I find it like relaxing. It's like, for this next half hour, this thing I'm doing, I know exactly what to do because I have instructions, and there's something comforting about that. Oh man, fake news and social media bots. There was some research that suggests that, like, I don't know, something like 80% of Twitter users are not actually people. Super messed up. Reddit is the same way. If you go on Reddit, there's some absurd percentage of people, users on there are not actually people. They're just bots that spam slogans and stuff like that. It's really, really bizarre stuff. Or upvote and downvote and try to do vote manipulation stuff. Deploy your army of bots. So I don't know. It's really hard. Like my aunt posted a thing yesterday that claimed that the Joe Biden can't. I don't know if any of you guys watched that so-called debate last night. My aunt posted an article about how Joe Biden's team, they used the word his handlers were refusing to let them search him for an earpiece. And I'm like, no, what? None of that is true. Like nothing about that is true. This whole article is this propaganda. It's like, this is not real. So the fake news thing that Donald Trump is always talking about, it is real. There is fake news and there's a lot of it. But CNN is not the fake news. It's your weird, like, off the beaten path websites. And they're on both sides. There's the media bias chart. I'll share this with you guys. This is it. I think the newest one, yeah. Home of the media bias chart. Yeah, this is it. Yeah, this is the media bias chart. And this shows you like which stuff is basically propaganda and what side of the political spectrum they're from. So like you've got this stuff, which is your very biased left-wing stuff, and then your very biased right-wing stuff that may or may not be straight up untruthful occasionally. And then here's the stuff that's fairly reliable. The stuff at the top is fairly reliable. And if you notice, most of the stuff that's most reliable in the green box is also very centered. It isn't particularly left or right. It's all kind of in this area. Some of it's a little bit lefty and some of it's a little bit righty, but for the most part, that stuff is more reliable and has a certain amount of journalistic integrity. So I think this is a very useful chart to get an idea of what's reliable in what kind of political whatever, what have you. So worth doing. I mean, I still look at some of these websites down here, and I occasionally will check out some of this stuff over here. Not so much Fox News, but you know, I'm not trying to espouse any particular political opinion here, but there is fake news on both sides, and it takes us a certain amount of critical thinking to judge what is fake and what is not. Okay, just a fun little last slide before we log off, because I'm going to go get a COVID test today. Woo, exciting. So the number one.
They aren't that bad. I've had 2 within the last week.
Oof, it's the brain poker.
Yeah, I had one too, and I was really scared because the flu test made my nose bleed, but she said some people just do it really extra hard for no reason.
Yeah, I had 2 rapids. I mean, they both came back negative, but I didn't think it was, I mean, it makes your eye water a little bit and then you're good to go.
It feels like a sneeze that wants to come out but won't, like that burning sensation.
I feel like I have like, I don't like things in my nose to begin with, so I feel like I'm going to handle it poorly, but you know, it's got to be done. I have a
That's how
cold.
I felt. I was like shaking. I was so scared, and like it was nothing.
All right. Well, thank you for reassuring me. Let's go through these fun things real quick, because I think talking about viruses and stuff is fun. Maybe I'll show you guys like the rundown of all the different kinds of viruses there are out there, because those are pretty fun to talk about too. Okay, so malware, top cyber attack number 1 is just trying to install nefarious software on your computer that does something bad. A bunch of different ways they do it and a bunch of different modes of attack, but they're all basically, it's software on your computer that is bad, hence the word mal, so Latin or Greek or something for bad. Unpatched software is another attacking an exploit on some software that is known to be problematic or have some sort of vulnerability. Phishing, where you try to get somebody to reveal some information that they wouldn't normally reveal by pretending to be someone else, you know, or being a Nigerian prince. That's a phishing attack, that sort of thing. The man in the middle attack, they should actually change that to person in the middle. So the person in the middle is a person who's listening to 2 people communicate with each other. And sometimes depending on what the mode of communication is between these two, you have Alice and Bob, they're talking, and then you've got Roger in the middle, and he's listening to their conversation. And sometimes, even if that conversation is encrypted, they can find information out. They know those two people's IP addresses at least. They know how long this communication is. They know how much data is being transmitted. So there is some information that you can get with a man-in-the-middle attack. Whoops. A buddy of mine went outside. He was at a truck stop, and he went to beep his car, like to open the trunk. And he noticed before he hit the button that there was another car sitting there, guy with a laptop open. And he thought that was really weird. It could be just some guy using the Wi-Fi, but he was acting really suspicious. And so he went out there and he sat on his trunk for a little bit and then kind of waited and kind of looked at the guy, and then eventually they drove away. I don't know. And who knows, maybe he was misjudging the situation, but it might have been someone with a device listening for the beeper code so that they could break into his trunk. And he had valuable stuff in his trunk, so he didn't want it to get stolen.
I feel like it's something that I would know, I shouldn't have to worry about, but I'm always worried. If
right?
I lock my car with my key fob, it's someone's gonna
Yep. Someone could
signal and break into my car.
You can go on Amazon. You can, now maybe not Amazon, but you can go online and find the equipment that you would need to steal somebody's fob code. It's not hard to find, and it's not even all that expensive. And then repeat that signal back so that you can open somebody's trunk or whatever. A denial of service attack usually takes the form of, whoopsie-doozy, what they call a distributed denial of service attack, where they have a bunch of computers all just hitting a server at the same time to bring the server down, flood the server with requests, and then bring it down. Sometimes this is an accident, like in 2004 when they landed the rover on Mars. It brought NASA's website down because so many people were trying to ping them to download the pictures that the rover took, because everyone wanted to see those pictures. So it was a denial of service. It wasn't an attack, but it did happen because it took people all day to download 2 pictures. And then so-called zero-day exploits are whenever you find a vulnerability on a website, don't tell the company about it, and instead just exploit it. So it's finding some vulnerability, some flaw in their system, and then exploiting it without telling anybody about it. That's called a zero-day. It's before they even have a patch. We have no way to fix this problem, so we're gonna. I mean, these things aren't anything that we have to worry about, but they are. They're kind of interesting nonetheless. So, yeah. So this is when there's a problem that there is not a solution for. They haven't fixed it yet. So that's what a zero-day is. And usually smart companies will say, hey, we'll pay you $10,000 if you find a vulnerability in our systems. We will pay you to tell us first before you go publishing it on your hacker forums. And lots of people do that. It's called bug bounties, and it's a good practice, and smart companies do that and dumb companies don't. Banks are notorious for not offering bug bounties. And I think it's a terrible idea because it means that your bank account is less secure than it should be. Anywho, I have to go get a COVID test here in a little bit for fun and for science, I guess. And to find out if I have COVID. I'm going to stop this recording. Oh, someone was chatting. Oh, let's see. Stop recording.